My wife and I are beside ourselves right now. This is the type of thing you see in the movies, but now it's happening to us. Yesterday evening, a little after 6, my wife and I were in the kitchen cooking dinner when my 6-year-old son Kyle walked in from the back patio. He was holding a folded piece of paper in his hand and had a strange look on his face. My son is constantly drawing and loves to read and write, so this usually wouldn't have stood out to me at all, but he'd just come in from hitting the baseball off the tee and really had no reason to be holding a piece of paper. My son is the type of kid who wears his emotions on his sleeve. When I asked to see the piece of paper, I could tell that he didn't really want to give it to me because he flashed his typical "I'm going to be in trouble if I do" face. I insisted, and he finally handed it over. Here's what it said.
Dear Kyle, I know this note may sound scary. Your daddy will think it is. But grown-ups don't know how friendships can grow when kids are just left to be kids. And what a kid you've become, Kyle. You're growing as fast as a weed. Last night off the tee, you stroked it for 3 and your team took a 2-run lead. Yes, I've been watching a while now, it's true. I think we would make perfect friends. You're a kid through and through, and I am one too, even if just for pretense. The problem, I fear, is your parents. I doubt they would let us hang out. One is just rude, the other a prude. Church-going, pure, holy, devout. I've got an idea. Can you tell my hands are shaking? For me and you getting together. Tomorrow at 3, you can come and see me at the address attached to this letter. But please, pretty please, don't tell your dad. Your mum and he won't understand. Just come by yourself. I'll be dressed as an elf, and we can even hold hands. Would you like that? You will. You really will, Kyle. We will have, my oh my, so much fun. So I'll see you at 3 by the sycamore tree, where our 2 kindred souls become one.
There was an address scribbled at the bottom of the page. 3 orange circle. I knew immediately it wasn't a prank. Carrie, my wife, is the youth group leader at our church, and Kyle did just have a t-ball game last night. Orange Circle is only 1 street over from our street, and I'm pretty sure Lot 3 is the corner lot on the cul-de-sac, which has an empty house with a large sycamore tree in the backyard. Was this sicko really watching Kyle's game? What would have happened if I hadn't have seen this letter? I shouted for my wife to come read it. "Carrie, come here, quickly." When she did, she flipped out and ran for the phone to call the police. I flipped the note over, and on the back was some more text. I couldn't read it at first, but quickly realized it was written backwards. I'm guessing so Kyle couldn't have read it. To read it, I had to hold it up in front of a mirror.
And now, just in case, if your dad's reading this, it's time to tell him a story. If your mum flaps her hole or your dad tells a soul, I'm afraid things might get rather gory. On the 10th of July, 1995, a woman named Susie went missing. Susie, you see, unlike you and me, wasn't careful about who she'd been kissing. I kept her a while, but old things get so boring, and in time, I had gotten my fill. I threw her away, and to my great dismay, the hunger I felt plagued me still. I tried to bury it deep down inside, when nothing down there can escape. But lately it seems I see Kyle in my dreams, and that hunger can no longer hide. Now that you know what I'm capable of, more than both of you can comprehend, if one word is spoken, then children get broken, and Susie will have a friend.
The police arrived in half an hour, and we showed them the note. They told us to stay inside and lock the doors for the remainder of the night. The man had obviously been in our fenced-in backyard, which made me sick to my stomach, and had me cursing myself for not installing the security camera I'd gotten for Christmas. Nothing happened last night, thank God. This morning, I got a call from the detective assigned to our case. He'd reviewed the list of missing persons cases from 1995, and something had turned up. Susan Carrington went missing July 10th, 1995, just as the note said. The last person to see her alive was a friend who saw her at the 24-hour gym they attended together. Susie had said that she had met someone new and wanted to get a quick workout in before getting ready for their second date. Susie was never seen again, and the man was never identified. And maybe the worst part was Susan's address. Number 3, Orange Circle. I'm supposed to meet with the detective later this evening. What should we do? The detective just called back. They're sending an unmarked patrol car with 2 plainclothes officers to 3 Orange Circle at 3 p.m. today. Kyle's teachers have been notified, and he's safe at school and won't be going to recess today. I'll update tomorrow with any news. It's crazy how you can be rocking along, living life the best way you know how, and then something like this happens, and in a moment, everything comes crashing down around you. I seriously woke up this morning, Kyle sleeping between Carrie and I, feeling like every bit of colour had been drained out of the damn world. My stomach is still in a knot, but at least Kyle's safe. Thank you for all of the support. We've never dealt with anything like this before, and hopefully never will again, and it's nice to know people care. Detective Carr dropped by the house last night around 7 p.m. I could tell that he'd had a long day. His thinning hair was a bit frazzled, like he'd been running his hand through it, and texts and calls kept popping up on the cell phone which he dropped on our coffee table. He put the phone on silent and slid it into the case on his belt, as if to say, I've had enough for the day, thank you very much. He reminded me about the plainclothes officers he'd dispatched to Orange Circle at 3 o'clock yesterday. The cruiser stayed parked in a nearby driveway, with a clear view of Lot 3 for the better part of an hour, he said. The officers didn't see anyone, which didn't really surprise me. A cul-de-sac backs up to an undeveloped forested area, which means that whoever wrote that note could have come and gone without using Orange Circle, likely the reason he chose it in the first place. When no one showed, the officers walked down the street and took a quick look around. The house is abandoned, just like I thought, but they found one of the back doors pried open. They couldn't go in, no search warrant yet, but they're requesting one today. The detective asked a lot of questions, and Carrie and I answered them to the best of our ability. Have we made any enemies lately? Has anything happened at church? Have we seen anyone strange at Kyle's t-ball games? Good questions, without any good answers. We racked our brains, but couldn't come up with anything that would set someone off like this. Carr seems to think it's someone we know, or at least who knows us. Someone smart, probably with a college education. The forensics lab has the note and they're checking it for fingerprints, but the detective thinks that this guy is too smart for that. Also, fingerprints are only helpful if the person has been arrested before, and I have a sinking feeling that this person never has been. He's also requested the entire missing persons file on Susan Carrington. They keep those old case files in the basement of City Hall and he's hoping it can be tracked down. Maybe it will have some clues as to who this guy is. When the detective left, I realized I felt exposed, vulnerable. I started questioning every stern word I've ever spoken, every slight I've dished out, no matter how small, and every one of my relationships. Had Carrie and I somehow brought this on ourselves with something we said or did? The way we treated someone? It's like that guilt you feel when you're trying to go to sleep but you know that there's something you've left undone. You know it's useless to think about, but your brain won't listen. It's awful trying to rationalize why something like this is happening to you. Last night we slept, if you can call it that, with Kyle between us. He's still going to school because, frankly, it's safer there. You can't get in without being buzzed in, and there are security cameras everywhere. Even if this sicko is one of his teachers, which I highly doubt, he wouldn't dare do something to Kyle out in the open. That's not his game. Our cameras are being installed this afternoon. They couldn't come yesterday, but I wish to God they had. I saved this part for last because transcribing this made my skin crawl. This morning, when she went out to get the paper, Carrie found a single white envelope in our mailbox. Inside was a folded note.
Dean and Carrie, brilliant, just brilliant. I know what you did. Did you really think I wouldn't see? I warned you that talking would bring me a knocking, and now there is nowhere to flee. You've broken your vow, and you both know by now you've brought this down on your own heads. I gave you a chance, but in this soundless dance, you only get one, for you're dead. Remember that I am the faceless, the shadow that hunts in the night. Anyone really, or no one, and clearly, you're both unprepared for this fight. A reprieve, I believe, though short I admit, is in order before we begin. If I can't get to Kyle, I'll paint on a smile and start with one of his friends.
I heard Carrie scream as I was sitting down at the breakfast table. I swear, that feeling of dread that coursed through me felt just like an electric current. I knocked my cereal bowl from the table as I scrambled out of my seat and toward the front of the house. I opened the door just as she reached it, and she collapsed into my arms, hysterical. She was only barely holding things together before. Now, she's just broken. I don't know what we're going to do. I think Detective Carr is going to put something in the paper tomorrow, and I'll have to talk to Kyle about this, finally. I didn't want to needlessly scare him, but it's time that he knows. I really want to just get the hell out of here, but it seems impossible. We have no savings to speak of. I'm paying off student loans, and we have bills. We can't just leave our jobs, and until we figure this out, we're stuck here. Stuck here, questioning the motive of every person we came across, thinking, is that him?